Okay, so what we're looking at today is to explain the different game goals, or basically what are the different purpose of games, what are the different objectives of games, such as making a goal educational, making it for entertainment, or any other purpose or goal. And then we're going to look at the different genres that we have. So we're going to start with the goals, and we're going to look at the different goals that we have here. Zoom at 125. Good. So Alia, you want to start the reading for us? Goals, educational.
Sir, can you zoom in?
More?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
Educational. To design game goals for a learning game, we should begin by looking at the characteristics of goals and how they are traditionally used in games. By adding a goal, we can make a game out of casual activity. For instance, we can change doing homework to a game by stating the person who finishes her homework first gets to choose what movie to see in the cinema. The goals are often central to the structure of the game, which means the goals are used to purposely guide the player through the game as they are the focal point of the player's desire in the game. In some games, the learning goal is not the target game goal, but a means to reach the game goal. For instance, oh gosh, in the game Citizen Science, an adventure game that teaches scientific literacy and limnology, the study of freshwater lakes, to school children. The player's game goal is to restore a polluted lake, Lake Mendota. Through the play of the game, the learner or player gathers information and knowledge to build arguments that can convince people with influence in the game and change the life in the lake. In this way, the game goal is different but related to the learning goal. The learning goals enhance scientific literacy and knowledge about limnology, and this practice becomes the sub goals that are necessary to achieve the larger game goal, which is to restore the polluted lake in the game.
Very good. So the first question I should have asked was that why do you think we should or we would want to add a goal to a game?
To make the game more interesting.
Good. To make it more interesting.
And to like add a challenge to it as well.
Good. A challenge. Because if it doesn't have a challenge, then it won't encourage us basically to play it more. It basically you need a reason to play the game. What are you playing the game for? Are you just playing a game because you don't have you have a lot of time on you? Are you playing it because you enjoy games? Are you playing it because it's going to help you to learn something? Are you playing it as a form of entertainment? So games must have a goal, must have a purpose. So one of those goals or those purpose is for it to be educational, for it to educate a person on a certain topic area. Now, even though a game is educational, does education have to be the end goal?
Not necessarily.
Why?
Well, though
Can't it be entertaining?
Go ahead, Zane.
Yeah, I was saying though education would be like a sub goal, the overall goal would be like to have fun.
Alia?
Yeah, I was gonna say it could be educational, but then entertaining at some point.
Good. So education, even though you're gonna make a game for education purposes, it doesn't have to be the end goal. It doesn't have to be like if you're reading a textbook or you're studying, doesn't have to be like that. You could structure the game in such a way that education is still a goal, but it's not the main goal. It's a sub goal, whereby you can have something else as the main goal, but having that knowledge or that experience or studying is going to lead to the end goal. So basically, it's still educational, but it's not the main goal of the game. So, like the example we have here in the last paragraph, um, the goal of education is not the main goal. The main goal is to restore that polluted lake. But in the process of restoring the lake, you are going to be learning. You have to build certain knowledge, certain skills, learn about certain things, and then you will know how you have to go about doing certain things in the game in order to save the lake. So, if you think about it, you can actually play the game without learning, because remember, it's the purpose of the game is not education. You can play it without learning. You could basically keep trying all the time until you get it right without actually learning anything. But if you want to basically enjoy the game, then you're going to take the time to learn about whatever you're going to come across. Something might find a book on the ground and it might give you some sort of information. You might find a billboard, it gives you some sort of information, and you're going to take the time, you go read it, and you take in more information, and that's going to help you to progress in the game. So when it comes to educational game, yes, you can make education the end point. That is the end goal. But at the same time, it doesn't have to be the end goal. You could always have it as a sub goal that the person is going to learn as they have fun in the game, basically. And you can say also, remember, it comes back to the question of why would a game need a goal, or why would it need a purpose? Having that goal of purpose would determine if persons would be interested in your game. And not all persons are solely interested in education. So if you can incorporate other elements, other purposes into the game, like entertainment and so on, making it fun, while being educating, then that can make an even more effective game experience for that person. So, educational is one goal that we can have. We can also have entertainment. Zane, you can read that for us.
A game is designed to give pleasure to the player while the player is actively involved in game activities. Although entertainment games are not specifically designed for purposeful learning, incidental learning happens while playing such games. Above all else, the objective of a kid's game and activities is to have fun doing something with others. According to the National Institute for Play, having fun with other children is an integral part of a child's development based on the need to belong or have something in common. Playing for the sheer joy of it nourishes a soul and lightens a heart.
Good. So, how can a game that is entertaining help us? Why would we want to make a game entertaining? What would make a person want to play an entertaining game?
Mainly to have fun.
To have fun? Good.
It is their vibe.
What was that, Ali?
I said it fits their vibe. Like,
Is their vibe? Okay, good. Yeah. That they're they want to basically have a good time. They want to enjoy, have fun, as they mentioned. So that's reasons why persons would play entertainment games. And as the last paragraph mentioned, um, it can basically develop you, especially as a child. It can develop certain thinking capacities, certain mobilities like walking, speaking, um, things like that. It can even make you happy. Some games can make you happy. So it can help to develop persons. Now, are entertainment games only for entertainment? Can they be only used for entertainment?
No,
Why? Why is that?
because sometimes it could be entertaining, but then you have the educational parts where you can gain knowledge from it also. Like where they say with the driving games, everyone loves the driving games, but then at least it could help them in the future
Exactly.
when they're actually driving.
Exactly. And that's exactly how I learned to drive. Because all my life I was playing, well, not all my life, but I've been playing driving games for a very long time. And yeah, I've been playing driving games for a very long time. And I was just put into a car one day. I've never been in a vehicle, like actually driven a vehicle. And I was just suddenly put into a vehicle a day to drive on a public road, just like that. And I knew what to do. I knew how to maneuver turns. I knew how to um, basically navigate around the curvature of the road and all of that. It wasn't too difficult. Like how you would see persons, they constantly mashing brakes and they constantly slowing down and they peeping and they ducking and they whatever. I wasn't really like that. And I would say it's because of playing racing games. They would have helped you to learn how to navigate, how to move, and how to turn corners, and so on. So, even though games are entertaining, they can still develop skills. They can still help you to develop skills. They can still educate you. Um, for example, do you guys know of any other examples?
Of games that could be,
Entertaining yet educational.
hmm, I've always admired those cooking games.
Okay.
I
And
mean, it does be entertaining, but then,
yeah, yeah, it is entertaining, but only to persons that like cooking. But entertainment games in general would be like those action games, those fighting games, those shooting games. Those are gonna be on the high level entertainment section, racing games and so on. And for action games, you're actually learning in action games because what action games like to do, they like to put in a story, and they actually like to put in real life stories or um, basically historical stories. So when you're playing the game, even though the game might be violent, the game might be entertaining, you're still learning in the process. You're learning about history. You're learning about this character. You're learning about the different mythologies. So it's still educating at the same time, even though it's for entertainment. All right, sportsmanship, Alia.
from the time a child can play sports or master a board game, it's important not to only teach her the rules of the game, but also teach sportsmanship. Having respect for other players and being gracious not only in losing, but in winning as well. There are adults who never learn the nuances of sportsmanship, and it is often quite obvious. The objective of all kids' games and activities is to practice fair play. After all, you don't want your child to be the last one standing when her teammates are tasked with choosing a partner.
Good. So when developing games, you want to develop a game that would help to build teamwork, build collaboration, build fair gameplay, so that persons can build those skills and they don't have to be left out basically when persons are choosing one another to play a game. This person always greedy, that person always want everything, I can't play with him, he doesn't help me out in the game. Zane, are you that one of those persons? One of those solo players?
I don't think so, sir.
Say if Alia was dying in the game, you would rush to save her.
Not immediately, but eventually.
Alia, don't play games with Zane.
Are we this up?
Continuing to be
Oh, wait.
challenged.
This is being recorded, right?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yes, Zane, continue. Or who has to? Yeah, Zane, to be
Yeah.
challenged.
A game or activity can quickly lose its draw when a child is no longer challenged. Physical as well as mental activities should offer your child an opportunity to push himself. However, if a child feels that no amount of effort or strategy will allow him to accomplish a win, or at least a show, he will shy away from participating. It's exciting to be challenged, to work harder and smarter to achieve a goal. So games and activities should be age appropriate and within your child's ability. Positive encouragement from a friend, parent, or coach goes a long way in giving your child the courage to try and succeed.
Good. So we basically talked about this, that the game needs to be um, challenging. It needs to be um, developed in such a way that it's not repetitive, that you're not doing one thing over and over, and it basically becomes boring. So when you're developing a game, also, not only can you think of it being entertaining or educational, what would make it more interesting every time a person continues to play the game? Are they gonna have a new level, more difficulty, new characters? What's gonna make it more interesting to them? What's gonna make it more challenging? And then when you're playing games, it should at least help you to develop some form of skill. That's dealing with the sportsmanship there. It's developing some form of skill. So I'll just look at this last area here and then we can finish off. Objectives of game goals. Alia, you can read the first three objectives.
Goals need not all be of the same type nor demand the same skills from the player. Skills can broadly be classified into three categories. Physical, to achieve the game's goals, and the player must use some form of physical skills, such as manipulating a game controller deftly or quickly typing the correct key sequence. Mental, to achieve the game's goals, the player must use some form of strategic skills, such as working out the correct sequence of steps in a logic puzzle game, or wisely using resources to build a good balance of combat units for defeating enemy forces. Randomness, to achieve the game's goals, the player must overcome odds that could cause him or her to lose progress. This might involve the odds of successfully landing a sword blow on a goblin in a role playing game, or of beating an opponent's hand in a gambling game.
Good. So some skills that we can put into games that would make a game interesting. We have one, physical. How are you going to make the game so that the player basically needs a physical skill in order to play this game effectively? Like when you're playing action games, like if for example it's a fighter game, you're gonna need to remember a series of buttons that you need to press on the controller in order to play that game effectively. Not all persons can play that game because um, for some persons they cannot move their fingers that quickly to press all of those buttons that quickly to control the character. And you guys ever saw the game? I think it's Beat Sabers.
Hmm?
No.
I think it's Beat Sabers. Hopefully nothing else doesn't come on. this here, where you have to be moving this sword here, and you kind of slice the boxes. So that would be a physical skill. You move it's basically like what the game name? What's the music game? The popular music game where they put you to dance. Just Dance.
Just dance.
Yeah. So this is like Just Dance. It plays the music, and these boxes come at you, and you have to basically slice it with the
Yeah,
two
I love
swords that you,
it.
the two swords that you have there, and the boxes come at you based on the pattern of the music. So that would be a physical skill there. Um, where are we? Good.
I saw this guy on TikTok doing it.
Yeah, yeah. And then there's even another one where you move a mouse and it connects a bunch of circles on the screen. That would also be a physical objective goal there also. Mental goals, the person has to think, there's strategy, there's puzzles. So they're not gonna um, physically do as much as a physical game, but they're thinking a lot how to solve the puzzle, what elements I have to pick up or detect and to play the game. And then randomness, basically making the game random so that you're not sure. The game has a random system whereby if you do something, it can either be successful or it could not. There's a probability of you maybe hitting something or completing some sort of action. So you're not actually guaranteed of completing that task. So we have some other goals here. Zain, you can finish off those.
Goals need to be properly adjusted even at the individual level. Ideally, each goal should have the following qualities. Clear. The player should never be in a position of not having an objective. The game should always clearly communicate, explicitly or implicitly, what the player's next goal is. Once a player accomplishes one goal, the next goal should be immediately presented to the player. Obtainable. The player should be provided with enough information and resources to actually achieve each of the game's goals. Maybe not at first, but after a sufficient amount of effort, the player should be able to accomplish what the game asks. Otherwise, the player will leave the game in frustration. Found truth. The player should never be in doubt about whether he or she has achieved the goals in the game. Ideally, the game should provide immediate feedback, that is, notification of the player's success or failure, when the player attempts to accomplish a game goal. Challenging. The game must expend some amount of effort in achieving the goal, unless the game is specifically understood by the player to be a mindless game, designed to simply pass the time with no effort. Note that the effort can be small or great, depending on whether the game is casual or hardcore. But if no effort at all is required to achieve the game's goals, the player will leave the game out of boredom. Note that as players spend time playing the game, they become more adept at whatever skills are required to achieve the game's goals. This means that goals must increase in difficulty as player's skill increases. Rewarding. The player must find value in accomplishing the goal. Some goals benefit the player within the game's context, such as by advancing the player's progress towards the game's conclusion or revealing more of the game's story. These are intrinsic rewards. Goals that benefit the player outside of the context of the game are extrinsic rewards. Examples of extrinsic goals are exercise games that promote weight loss or gambling games in which players can earn real life money.
Good. So when you're developing a game, these are some simple guidelines that you can follow that ensure that your game is basically something that a person can enjoy. First is to make the objectives clear. So the person needs to know what they are doing in the game. Something must tell them what to do. Either a menu is going to be there telling them that this is what their next objective, or maybe something is constantly reminding them to go in a certain direction or to do something. It has to be clear. I think a time I remember I was playing a game and you don't know what to do next, and it was frustrating because you're playing the game but you're not seeing the objective and you don't know what to do. So that's not a good gameplay. The objectives must be obtainable. You must either be able to achieve it right away or over a period of time after you would have got maybe gathered a certain amount of items, a certain amount of skills, a certain amount of materials. You should be able to achieve the objective. Um, the objective must be concrete. We must know that we complete or fail an objective. Some message must come up or some sort of area must open to clearly show that we complete this objective. A game must be challenging because if a game is not challenging, we're just going to be mindlessly playing the game all the time. I remember I was playing a game. Um, there are quite a few games that allow you to mindlessly play games. Um, Raid Shadow Legends is one of them. They basically allow you to select a certain amount of characters. Well, you still have to develop the characters, but once you've developed them, it allows you to automatically fight. So you're not doing anything. The character is moving by themselves, they're fighting by themselves, they're using their different powers, and all you're doing is just overseeing and making sure they go to the next fight. So how is that making the game challenging? So that can affect gameplay. And then the game must be rewarding. There must be some sort of reward, some sort of motivation that would make the person want to continue playing. Either a new character, a new skin for the character, a new stage is open, you get some sort of material. Something must be given in order to motivate persons to play. So those are some of the goals of games. Games must be, you could either be educational, entertaining, and when you're developing games, you want to make person develop skills, sportsmanship skills. The game must be challenging. It could either be a physical game, a mental game, a random game. Those are things you consider when developing a game. Any questions before we conclude?
No,
No,
sir.
Senor.
All right, well, we're gonna wrap up here for today, and I'm going to fix up the genres. So in the next class, we're gonna look at that.